Hello everyone, it's fantastic to see you again. Welcome to Chapter 4, Section 4 of the online video course Chinese Traditional Culture and Spiritual Healing. My name is James, a teacher at Guangdong University of Foreign Studies.
Professor, do you mean that desire is bad and we need to eradicate it?
The famous Spanish writer Baltasar Gracian said, in The Art of Worldly Wisdom, desire is a god, and the energy of desire is equivalent to that of God. It is desire that separates people from other species and become humans, the measure of all things. In Zhuangzi is the fable of Chaos, who died after his 7 orifices were opened. Allow me to explain more. The emperor of the South China Sea is named Shu. The emperor of Beihai is named Hu, and the emperor of the center is named Chaos. Shu and Hu often visit Chaos's house, and Chaos treats them with great enthusiasm. Shu and Hu discussed how to repay Chaos's friendship and said, everyone has 7 orifices for seeing, hearing, eating, and breathing, except Chaos. Let's try to dig out the 7 holes for you. They dug a hole every day, and Chaos died on the 7th day. The Emperor Chaos represents a state of human consciousness that is still in chaos. Shu and Hu, based on the goodwill to repay gratitude, opened 7 holes for Chaos, trying to give him the unique spiritual characteristics of humans, according to the unique paradigm of human beings. However, Chaos died rather than become better. This is a metaphor for the human situation. In Zhuangzi's view, the original human beings were in a state of ignorance and desireless chaos like other species, living in harmony with other species. However, after gaining their unique intellect and desires, humans ended the chaotic state and moved far away from their state of initial happiness. In Zhuangzi's opinion, the first era of mankind was the happiest one, where people and Tao were integrated into one, preserving nature. Later, because of the unique spiritual characteristics of human beings, such as intellect and desires, mankind gradually distanced themselves from Tao and its nature, being confused and unhappy. The above fable is highly consistent with the Christian story of Adam and Eve, who were expelled from the Garden of Eden. As the ancestors of mankind, they were tempted by a snake and violated God's order, eating the fruit of the tree of wisdom. As a result, their intellect and desires were unlocked. Adam and Eve covered their lower body with leaves because they understood shame and vanity. Because of tasting the forbidden fruit, the ancestors of mankind lost the Garden of Eden, and pain and death began to fall on mankind. These two extremely important fables in the history of Chinese and Western cultures jointly reveal a truth. That is, the awakening of intellect and desires is the reason why mankind is distinguished from other natural biological species and has become the most advanced species. However, these two stories also explain what has caused the loss of our initial state of happiness. The above view has also been supported by Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari, who described the evolution of early humans in Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. 2.5 million years ago, humanoids appeared on the earth. Compared with other creatures, they were nothing special. About 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens in the human species suddenly began to have a revolutionary breakthrough in cognitive ability. Why did the cognitive revolution occur in Homo sapiens? A widely accepted theory believes that accidental genetic mutations changed the inner wiring of the brains of sapiens, enabling them to think in unprecedented ways and to communicate using an altogether new type of language. We might call it the tree of knowledge mutation in the Bible. In other words, Homo sapiens' cognitive revolution is the result of intelligence and desire. For Harari, the development of human civilization is also a process of the degradation of happiness. Harari compared the life of early hunter-gatherer humans with the life of humans after the agricultural revolution in terms of labor intensity, leisure time, nutritional status, and sense of security, and pointed out that scholars once proclaimed that the agricultural revolution was a great leap forward for humanity. They told a tale of progress fueled by human brain power. That tale is a fantasy. Rather than heralding a new era of easy living, the agricultural revolution left farmers with lives generally more difficult and less satisfying than those of foragers. Harari also indicated that for modern people, contemporary humans have an arsenal of tranquilizers and painkillers at our disposal. But our expectations of ease and pleasure, and our intolerance of inconvenience and discomfort have increased to such an extent that we may well suffer from pain more than our ancestors ever did. I associate this with the happiness equation proposed by Paul A. Samuelson. Happiness is the proportional relationship between consumption and desire. Harari's above conclusion is logically valid. Although modern people consume more than their ancestors, they also desire more. So we can conclude that modern people are dragged down by desire. It seems to Harari that human beings have become the masters of the entire planet through the cognitive revolution, agricultural revolution, and scientific revolution. However, as their ability to transform the world increases, human beings have not become happier. On the contrary, we will see time and again how a dramatic increase in the collective power and ostensible success of our species goes hand in hand with much individual suffering. One of the very important reasons is that human beings live in a way increasingly distant from nature and far away from our heart's true calling. The transition first to agriculture and then to industry has condemned us to living unnatural lives that cannot give full expression to our inherent inclinations and instincts, and therefore cannot satisfy our deepest yearnings. Indeed, according to Christian doctrine, ever since human beings were expelled from the Garden of Eden, which originated from nature due to the awakening of their intellect and desire, they have been entangled with spiritual pain. When people are striding forward in the process of civilization led by intellect and desires, they also feel the oppression brought by them. Psychological research has revealed the psychological basis of human anxiety. Due to the specificity of the human brain structure, the complexity of the human anxiety mechanism, and the related nervous system is much higher than that of ordinary animals. Whereas other animals' anxiety is stimulated by the external environment, such as the danger right in front of them, the highly developed human cerebral cortex allows us to expect future results based on experience and adjust our actions accordingly. For example, animals will not be anxious about tomorrow's food and environment after being full in a safe environment. In contrast, although primitive human beings had enough to eat on that day, their anxiety about the possible shortage of food in the future made them hoard as much food as possible, study food preservation and production technology, and finally, develop agriculture and animal husbandry. The American writer Henry David Thoreau, the author of Walden, once sharply satirized human beings' deep anxiety. Men say that a stitch in time saves 9, and so they may take 1,000 stitches today to save 9 tomorrow. In Thoreau's mind, people work hard and save money for the virtual survival pressure and the distant future. And when the future comes, they have to work hard for the even more distant future. People are tortured by anxiety and have no chance to feel the beauty and sacredness of life. A famous saying is particularly relevant here. Raising money to guard against sickness makes you sick. What Thoreau wanted to tell us is that your life is worthy of being better, but it's not worth spending your whole life obsessing about working to be better. Zhuangzi said, "When the tailor bird builds her nest in the deep wood, she uses no more than one branch. When the mole drinks at the river, he takes no more than a bellyful." Zhuangzi senses that human beings are deeply tortured by desire and anxiety. So he hopes that people learn from animals to have a desireless and less anxious mind, just like the tailor bird and the mole, and correct their thinking and behavior patterns. Desire is indeed the instinct of humans and the driving force of social development. Desire makes people different from other natural biological species and makes people human. It is precisely because humans have evolved desire, intellect, and anxiety higher than that of ordinary animals that humans could survive in the primitive society where large carnivores were widely distributed, rise to the top of the food chain, make effective plans for the future, and finally develop a highly developed modern civilization. However, excessive desire is the beginning of a tragedy in one's life. Desire makes people human, but it also makes people inhuman. Desire alienates people, puts them on the shackles of money, and compels them to become slaves to commodities. Desire becomes the cruelest supervisor, driving people to do Sisyphus-like hard labor to keep satisfying their desires. Sisyphus is a character from ancient Greek mythology. Punished for offending the gods, he was told to push a heavy boulder to the top of a steep mountain every day, and then watch the boulder roll down to the foot of the mountain to undo all his efforts. He never stopped pushing the boulder. There was a famous saying in existentialism: to possess is to be possessed. On the surface, we own the commodities, but the commodities also own us. Commodities take up our lives because the money to buy commodities is exchanged for the time that we use them. And during this time, we could have done something else freely. Under the domination of desire, our lives are filled with various commodities, and we have become commodities. Zhuangzi's attitude towards desire is that people should learn to control desires and should not be dominated by desires. People should be the masters of desires rather than being mastered by desires. But many people are like the upside down people, people with feet on top and head on bottom, whose lives are like a weightlifting competition. As long as they do not die from exhaustion, they will keep adding weight to the barbell. Zhuangzi tells us to learn to let go. On the one hand, we need to develop the potential to realize desires. On the other hand, we should know how to adjust desires within the scope of our abilities. Modern people are tired because we always want to stand on tiptoe or even jump up to pick the fruit that we want. Lao Tzu said, "Standing on tiptoes is unsteady, and striding forward will not go far." Desire allows mankind to obtain the fastest walking speed among all species. But if we cannot control this speed, we will neither be able to walk steadily nor go far. We've now reached the end of section 4 of chapter 4. Before we finish, I have some questions for you to think about. You can see them on the screen now. Please pause the video to think about them and continue when ready. What did you learn from the fable of chaos? How and why have humans moved away from their initial state of happiness? How is the Christian story of Adam and Eve related to this? Do you agree that the development of human civilization has led to the degradation of happiness? Which 3 revolutions allowed humans to become distinguished from animals? How and why should we control our desires? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.